step onto that lovely little plane, which is built for nothing but comfort, for nothing but conversation, for nothing but relaxation, and lift off with nothing but the clothes on your back, or naked if you wish. Fly through the air and land, and step out and realize you are far, far away from where you took off, but it only took a moment to get there. Because in reality, that place was always right next door. And now that you have deflated your thoughts and let the air out of some of them, you find out that the only reason it seems so far away is because you had created so much space and time between you and it. When in fact, there's really no space and time between you and it at all. It's all right here, all right now. And the temperature and the atmosphere of where you have landed is absolutely ideal for you. And amazingly enough, ideal for every other passenger that arrives, even if that is different from yours. It is a marvelous, multidimensional place that adjusts itself to everything you enjoy, personally and automatically. And believe me, in the universe, even in the physical plane, there actually are such places that can accomplish this. Where no matter how many people go to a location, everything about the location adjusts itself automatically to every single individual, no matter how different it may be from the individual standing right next to them. So you are at one of these universal resorts that knows you exactly who you are, reads your vibration like a book, and exactly reflects the knowing part of yourself, the deserving part of yourself, the loving part of yourself, the creative part of yourself, and reminds you that these are actually not parts, but that these are states of being that are the whole of who you are when you choose to be. It reminds you of this constantly. It bathes you in a vibrational atmosphere of constant support of being totally who you are at every moment, without worry, without thought, without control, without manipulation, without scheduling, without time. Everything unfolds perfectly, perfect timing. You find yourself interacting with whom exactly you need to interact with, when you need to interact with them. You find yourself winding up in exactly the room in the resort you need to be in, exactly when you need to be there, and staying for exactly how long you feel like staying. And as soon as you leave and go somewhere else and show up, everyone turns and says, "You're right on time." Let yourself understand that this place symbolizes and represents your true natural self, your instinctive self. The you that knows who you are without thinking about it. The you that absolutely knows who you are without thinking about it, without being told, without being judged, without being measured, but supported simply for the absolute knowledge that you have of knowing who you are. Breathe in the air and know that you are breathing in yourself. The atmosphere, the vibration that is you, the you know yourself to be. You know yourself to be. Without the fuss, without the muss, without the 1,000 little thoughts that you have agreed to allow yourself to nag yourself with about how you should be this and how you should be that in order to be better in order to be worthy, in order to be deserving, in order to be wanted, in order to be loved, in order to be taken seriously, in order to be thought of as having a place in existence. To earn your place in the world. Nonsense. Were that you didn't deserve it, believe me, believe me, believe me, you wouldn't exist. Do what you want to do because you love to do it. The expression of being yourself as fully as you can is the only coin you need. And it is what will allow abundance to come to you in whatever form it needs to, coin or otherwise, that represents the path of least resistance to being yourself. You are abundant because all that is the very essence of abundance itself. And if you think all that is would create you, and that there would not be enough for you, you have a very poor picture of all that is. And you are making poverty out of abundance by seeing all that is as that poor in its creation, that it could somehow create you and leave you out of the ability to be supported by its abundance. It has allowed you to experience that idea, but you are creating whatever poverty you create from your abundance. Even if it's an abundance of poverty, it's still abundance. You have everything in that sense already. All you have to do is allow yourself to be who you are, to see that, to know that clearly. Just be who you are. And the reflection from the universe will be clear. But do it without expectation of reflection, for then you are standing outside of your knowingness once again. Stay within your knowingness. Choose the state you wish to express, because you have no other choice. Because that's who you are. Not because it will get you this, not because it will get you that, but because it's who you are. That declaration is all that's necessary for the universe to respond to you as fully. So you don't have to make it conditional. I'll be this if I get that. If I get that, I'll be this. When you make it conditional, the universe can only reflect conditional experiences to you. Make it unconditional. Make it unconditional. That you are willing to be who you are because that's who you are. There's no other choice. Make it unconditional. And if you make it unconditional, you will have the unconditional experience itself from all that is. Take a deep breath, unconditionally, and let it out unconditionally. Congratulations. What is the time frame remaining for this transmission?
15 minutes.
Within what you call your 15 minutes, which to me could be yesterday or tomorrow, or right now, and which to you can also be the same. Allow yourselves to ponder for a moment what it really means to feel unconditionalness, absolute lack of expectation, absolute lack of judgment, absolute lack of lack, unconditionalness, where you know you know, you know, you know, you know. And nothing has the power to tell you that you don't know what you know, you know, you know. Relax into that understanding. Relax into that feeling. It is your birthright. It is who you are. It is who we are actually speaking to when we speak to you. You may think we're speaking to your personalities, and obviously we are including them. But the direct communication is from who we know we are to who we know you are. It is between our knowing selves. So in that you have co-created this interaction. Understand. Understand. Stand under this foundation. Support it. Understand that whatever symbol we represent to you in terms of our ability to know is just a reflection of what we see in you, or you would not be able to experience it from us. It's just that in these interactions, you are willing to allow us to reflect back to you who you actually are. You can do that anytime you wish. You don't need to be in these kinds of specific interactions in this specific way, because we are always having an interaction. Always. On some level or other. Key into that. Tap into that. And know it is just as real. On its own terms, in its own way, it is just as real. Don't make a difference where none needs to exist. You know we are always in touch. You know you are always connected to all that is. You know this. I know you know this. And we thank you for allowing us to remind you that you know this. And for reminding you that you always have the choice to know this or forget this. But to now simply remember that even when you choose to forget, you are still using your connection to forget that you have one. And now, if we had gambling on our planet, we would bet that you actually will never completely forget who you are again. And I think we will win that bet. Because the house always wins. And we all live in the same house. Now. We all live in the same house now. Welcome home. Take your break. Or I'll say, let us conclude this transmission with any clarifications and questions that you may have about any of the material that has already been delivered. Are there questions? All right. Organize yourselves into question mode.
Hello again, Bashar.
And a you good day?
Bashar, earlier today you mentioned that you didn't have all the answers.
No.
Would you be kind enough to share with us one of the questions to which you have yet to have an answer?
If I don't really have the answer, I don't have a question.
Do you mean to say that you don't question anything?
We are always searching But what I mean by what I have just said is, usually when you have a question, it automatically contains the answer. So to really not have the answer to something probably also means you haven't even thought of the question yet.
Therefore, in that case, what are you searching for?
Thank you. More of our relationship to all that is. We will give you, in what you call pragmatic terms, one example we have talked about recently that in your terms represents the idea of not having all the answers and having questions that seem unanswered. I will put it in your terminology. All right? All right. We have talked about, not too long ago, the idea of encountering another civilization, which translates into your language somewhat close to the sound Thuk. The name of the civilization, in other words, is Thuk. Although that is a translation into your language and not exactly what they call themselves or what we understand the name to be. Nevertheless, when we encountered this civilization, an amazing paradox and puzzle arose for us. And that is, we can interact with these beings, as you say, face to face, and carry on what might be considered by you to be a relatively normal interaction and conversation. But the moment we turn away from them, we forget who they are, what they look like, and everything that was said. Automatically. Until we turn back and see them again. This is the nature of their existence. They are quasi-dimensional in a sense, but of such a nature that only when engaging them directly are you in their frame of reference, and when you disconnect from it, their frame of reference is so different from ours, there is nothing from their frame of reference we can take with us into ours, and so nothing survives of the conversation. We were extremely excited to encounter these beings, for we had never encountered something like that before. And thus we are still exploring our relationship to them and what attracting them into our reality means about our own existence. So in that sense, yes, you could say there are things we don't know, questions that are unanswered in that context. Does that help?
In a sense, has the human race taught you anything?
Well, besides puns, you mean?
Yes. Have we raised your awareness in any way?
Yes, of course. First of all, understand that even physiologically we owe our existence to you. You are in many ways genetically our ancestors. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Therefore, you have given us life. Great, 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 great grandmother.
What about spiritual awareness?
The idea of spiritual awareness is that every single time you allow yourselves to interact with us and co-create these interactions with us, you open up for us a new understanding and a new perspective of another way that all that is has of expressing itself that we have never encountered before. So any interaction with you is a spiritual revelation to us in terms of a new perspective, a new point of view, a new expression that all that is has that we can then add to our overall understanding of all that is and our relationship to it and your relationship to it. So interacting with anyone, including humans on earth, is always an eye-opening and spiritual expansion for us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does that help?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
The planet Earth recently, I believe it was March, I may stand corrected on that, we experienced a tremendous, what we term catastrophe, in the form of a tsunami.
Yes.
And from what little reading that I've done on it, it had very far-ranging effects.
Yes.
Much to the liking of the planet has been oscillating for 20-minute cycles,
Yes.
like a month after the event.
Yes.
and obviously it took a lot of lives.
Yes.
Did a lot of damage.
Yes.
What effects has that produced on our planet on a psychological level, on a spiritual level? What kind of, has it opened gates? What is this event all about?
All right, thank you. As we have discussed many times, the idea is that you will go through the transition on your planet in a number of ways, depending upon the different belief systems and levels of things that people on your planet believe are possible in order to experience such transitions. Many of you may know that transition is inevitable, but may not necessarily know how to experience it other than in a few certain kinds of ways, such as the idea of physical cataclysm and so forth, may be the only way some people have of translating the idea of that magnitude of transition in a way that makes sense to them. In other words, if it doesn't really actually have a physical impact on your planet, they will not necessarily think that things are changing in a powerful way. Also, many people have, in some senses, set up the kind of timing that they have for how long they will be physical on Earth. And they want to create, in certain ways, situations that will act as mechanisms to allow them to transition from physical to non-physical reality. And so they are recognizing that they are still willing to create the idea of certain methodologies that you might call catastrophes to take them out when the timing is right. Because they cannot necessarily imagine that they will know consciously how to do that on their own, and so they rely on the automatic mechanisms of the planet to do it for them. You follow me?
Yes, I do.
Now, do also understand that, again, like anything, it can serve double duty. And it depends on the vibration of the person and why they are choosing to attract themselves to that experience in terms of what it is they will get out of it. Because certainly there can be people who are right in the midst of even something that seems to be a catastrophe who will be absolutely unaffected in a negative way. You follow me?
Yes.
Thus, then, what they get out of it will be, of course, what they put into it and the reasons for which they have created their presence in that area, which could be as simple as being around to help. But again, everyone will have their own story as to how they relate to that particular event. However, understand, as we have said, that it does, in fact, serve double duty in many different ways. And one of the most powerful things it has actually done is that it affected the economy of all of the countries that it hit, but not necessarily in a negative sense. That particular tsunami dredged up from the bottom of the ocean floor vast deposits of titanium and deposited it on the shores of all the countries that it hit. It left so much titanium on the shore that it has actually boosted the economy of every single country it has hit for years to come. You understand?
Yeah, that's good.
Therefore, you can always understand that there are many, many, many different kinds of effects that any event creates, and it's really going to be up to the vibration of the people and why they would attract themselves for the reasons of their own personal stories and how they experience that event. Does that make sense?
It does. One of the reasons I asked that question is the fact that with the events like this, as time unfolds,
yes,
it seems as though the response to an event like that is becoming more planetary.
Yes.
As opposed to more of it's just an isolated event that happened in Africa that, okay, we'll let them deal with it. But
you
now
have squarely illuminated another opportunity, because your planet is changing sociologically in many different ways, becoming more global. And one of the most profound things you have seen is an opportunity for a transition of many social institutions and military institutions on your planet, and specifically military institutions, because military institutions were used as rescue efforts and help, and in that sense, relief efforts for those kinds of catastrophes, giving them an understanding that there are other ways in which the military can use what it is they have learned without it being warfare. In the fact, in the future, all of the discipline that has gone into your military will actually shift over to the idea of such rescue events. Do you follow me?
Yeah, very much so.
So yes, you are using these things also to retrain yourselves. Yes.
That's great. And one last quick question. This has been a very awesome weekend.
Awesome. All right.
And I appreciate your presence here.
Well, I am not there, but thank you for the sentiment.
Yeah, right. Do you have any tips as to tips ideas, suggestions as to how, in this coming week or so, how we can best integrate this material, besides leading our normal lives and doing what excites us, how we can best let this sink in.
So besides everything I've already said.
Yeah, besides all that. Exactly, yeah.
I see. All right. One moment. Do you have a favorite location on the planet that you haven't been to in a long time or have never been to but always wanted to go to?
That's funny you asked that because...
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it must be since they're all laughing.
Because... man.
Why is it funny that I ask that?
Well, because I'm going to be there tonight.
Which would be where?
I'm going to be somewhere in the middle of New Mexico tonight.
I see.
I'm in transition right now, and that's where I projected myself to be.
Yes.
Probably in between whatever the area in between Phoenix and Sedona.
All right.
I'm very, I guess Phoenix and Sedona, that's a pretty big gap there, but I've always been wildly attracted to New Mexico.
Wildly attracted?
Yeah, just something about New Mexico.
To your Southwest in general?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Or to your Arizona or New Mexico state, doesn't matter?
New Mexico particularly.
All right. And
Yeah.
you're going to Arizona first?
Well, what the transition is, I'm driving from Los Angeles.
Yes.
And my destination for Wednesday is Charlotte, North Carolina, because I'm relocating from California back to the East Coast.
Oh, all right.
So tonight is the first leg of the travel. I'm hoping to get into New Mexico after this event. And New Mexico is a state that there's just something about it.
All right. Something about it. How much time will you spend in that state?
Well, you had mentioned that you were going to be able to visit me in a dream state tonight.
Yes.
and share
Yes.
your excitement. So unfortunately, it's going to be a quick visit because...
Quality, not quantity.
There you go. I really don't have any plans to
Very good.
stick around there long.
Don't have any plans. End the sentence there. I really don't have any plans. That is the biggest tip I can give you. Follow your dream. Follow where you are lured to. Be magnetized and attracted to an area on your planet that you feel you are in resonance with, and then don't have any plans. And see what happens. All right?
Sounds good.
That's the biggest tip I can give you. All right?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice trip.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I'd like to ask you, with regard to, well, we've been talking a lot about earth changes and
Yes.
the way that our civilization is eventually going to be changing. And I'd like to know if you can comment about the fate of some of the very large cities in this country, especially Los Angeles.
The fate.
Well, yes. What I have in mind is
Yes.
a couple of things.
You have some fate in mind for them?
No, I don't think it's my idea, but
Really? Are you sure? You're the one saying it.
Well, okay. Yes. Okay. There
Are
is
you
something.
catching my drift?
Well, let me just try to clarify this a little bit.
Oh, all right. I'll let you.
The I Am America, I believe it's the I Am America maps,
Yes.
which probably a lot of people are familiar with, show this area eventually, and I'm not sure of the time frame they have in mind, but show this area as a series of islands.
Yes, I know.
At some time,
I know what you are referring to.
And
What reality are you going to choose to vibrate to?
well, that's another issue.
No, it's not. That was my earlier point. You bringing this up means you are resonating to an idea here, and I am calling your attention to the fact that you're resonating to an idea here you may actually prefer not to resonate to, so that you don't attract yourself to a reality experience you don't prefer.
Well,
What version of Earth do you wish to resonate to?
all right, well, getting back to actually what is the more important part of this, which it does have to do with my perception.
Yes.
I've had a lot of mystical experiences, you might say, and in one of them, when I'm shown pictures of
Yes.
wonderful pictures of
Yes.
what our civilization can look like.
Yes.
Which is really, really beautiful, abundant, balanced, and all of that.
And?
In that picture,
Yes.
when I have kind of asked, well, it's not a picture that includes cities such as ours where there is very little greenery, there is no ability to
Yes.
self-sustain, really,
Yes.
and so forth. It's just, they're kind of like either not there, or there seems to be a suggestion that they still do exist, but that there is a different type of society inhabiting those cities where they're still kind of buying into that pattern and not
Yes.
having a very happy time of it.
Yes.
And I've been puzzled about this. Is it that they don't exist anymore, or that we've had this sort of separation where we can be drawn into a reality that we
Your
find?
confusion is because you're actually looking at a transitional reality. In other words, the idea of a reality transitioning from one to another is itself a reality. And you are standing squarely in between two ideas and experiencing that reality of transition itself, and that's where the confusion is coming from. Eventually, we perceive that your reality on Earth will be somewhat closer to our reality on my world, where it is mostly green, and there are not large built-up cities. Not because they have been destroyed, but because in that sense, they have been deconstructed.
Yes, that's what I would say. That was the suggestion, that they had been deconstructed.
Yes. And this eventually will occur, not in your present lifetime. The idea of the scenario that you are picking up, to get to that point on Earth, you are looking at about 2,000 years down the road.
Wow.
Do you follow?
Yeah, I was hoping it was sooner, but
The beginnings of it are right now, but the final vision of that idea is about 2,000 of your years down the road. Do you follow that?
Yeah. Thank you, because I have wondered about the time frame of what I was shown.
Yes. Now, the other thing to understand is that about 1,000 years down the road, humans will be making a decision. And that decision will primarily be this, that they will probably not occupy the Earth so much, and certainly will probably not incarnate on it so much anymore. They will allow another race to begin to occupy what is going on the Earth, and let them decide what kind of habitations they require. And that's what you're picking up on, the idea being that the ones that might still be involved in some of the remaining structures may not necessarily be even of your society. They may be on their own path, using Earth for their own lessons and their own experiences, now that humans, in a sense, have moved up a notch. Many humans in spirit will remain connected to the Earth to act as guides for the new civilization that will birth itself upon the Earth for their own experience, the beginning of their own journey. You follow?
Yes, but this very balanced, green, and abundant society where there's communication between species and
Yes.
and all of this, is this...
This will begin shortly
But is it Earth or is it another version of Earth?
Well, what's the difference?
Well, in other
You're
words...
in another version of Earth right now. You're 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 in another version of Earth right now.
Okay.
So, of course, it's another version of Earth.
But you threw me a second ago when you mentioned about something that would, a decision 1,000 years down the line.
Yes.
Is it the decision to create this very wonderful place, in which, I mean, even the idea of self-sustaining communities now and all of that is the beginning of this creation now that we see here. But is it going to be able to flourish?
Yes.
Completely?
Yes.
But then in 1,000 years we're going to be willing to give that up?
Because it will no longer serve you. You will be cleaning the place up for someone else to come in.
Well, the beings that I've seen inhabiting it they look somewhat, well, they look a lot like us, but they're taller, thinner,
Yes. It's not the same species, exactly, no.
Oh, really?
No. Really. It's not the same species.
So it's not that we have just changed our evolutionary genetic pattern, it's a different species.
Yes.
And some of them are us and others are not, or what?
Well, in a sense, yes, of course, because some of you may decide that incarnationally you wish to partake of their journey, and so you will become them. But some of you will not. Many of you will not. Many of you will move on to other places, other levels, other dimensions.
But will it be, in a sense, a kind of gift to them that
Yes.
we are giving them a really wonderful, beautiful place?
Yes. You're cleaning up your house so the next tenant will have a nice place to move into. But the beginning of this will occur in your lifetime, in the sense that as we read the energy now, somewhere between your year of 2025 and 2033, there will begin open contact between humans on Earth and what you call us, extraterrestrials. And it will be the beginning of a relationship where Earth begins to join in what is called the Interstellar Alliance. And in that sense will also then gain new understanding of its relationship to the Earth, new understanding of its relationship to its cosmic family, new understanding in that sense of all the things it can do to assist other races also coming up the ladder, so to speak, in their evolutionary journey. You will be in that sense taking on new tasks. You will see your position in a new way, taking on new responsibilities you have heretofore not even dreamed of doing. And so by that year, as you call it, 3000, you will be basically getting your house in order to move on to a whole other new level. And therefore, another 1,000 years after that, what you are seeing as the idea of the deconstructed Earth will really be the first 1,000 years of the new society that is going to, in that sense, use Earth as its starting point for another journey. You follow me?
Yes.
Does that help you?
Oh, terrifically. Thank you.
All right.
Could I ask one question, which I wish...
Well,
maybe
that
could
was a
be
question, so I guess you can.
I'm confused between the Buddhist and the Hindu and the Christian concept of what the soul is.
Yes.
The Hindus believe that as we evolve, we never lose that we are all a part of God with its own innate individual existence that we never lose, that we maintain a point of spiritual integrity and individuality throughout our infinite journey.
Yes.
The Buddhists, on the other hand, believe that that individuality and the individual soul is basically an illusion.
Yes.
And that there is no such thing.
Yes.
It's the drop going into the ocean, does it remain a drop as it participates in the ocean, or does it simply disperse?
Do you remember when we talked about the idea of this and that as opposed to this or that?
Yes.
Then what does that mean?
So it is what the Hindus say is the non-difference difference.
And?
And what?
Not or, and it's also what the Buddhists say, and it's also what the Christians say, and it's also what the Jews say, and it's also what the Muslims say, and it's all true depending upon the level from which you are perceiving it. So they're just perceiving the same thing from different perspectives in different ways and symbolizing them from those perspectives. They're all true from their perspective. And that means they're all true. Because everything within God that you can imagine is somewhere real.
Is there anything that's any more real than what's real? Any ultimate reality to this question?
No. The only ultimate reality to that issue is that it's all true. That's the ultimate reality. It's all real. It's all true, and it's all an illusion. But that's what reality is. Understand this. You are not capable of imagining non-existence. Go ahead, give it a shot. Did you do it?
No.
Why not?
Well, as you say, you can't.
Because you can't experience non-existence, can you? No. Therefore, anything you actually can imagine exists in some level of existence, is real somewhere, somewhen, somehow within existence. Otherwise, you couldn't imagine it. So that which you can imagine is real. It just depends on the perspective in existence from which you are looking. But it's no less real and no more real than any other perspective. That's what existence is, perspectives. That's why all truths are true. That's the ultimate truth. All truths are true. That's the paradox. Does that make sense?
Oh yes, thank you. It's really wonderful to have that clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. Of course, you don't have to take my word for it.
Hello.
And to you, good day.
Two thoughts, please. Earlier, you've alluded to the spirit guides, masters, etc.
Yes.
And those of us that are on the quote-unquote spiritual path,
yes.
At times we get, or at least my feeling is, and if I get some clarification on this.
Yes.
Sometimes, you talked about our choices of hallways.
Yes.
Sometimes you go down this hallway.
Yes.
And I got the picture of the Matrix where you got all these doors you
yes.
can choose from along the doorway.
Yes.
Now, the spiritual guides, teachers, gurus, adepts, angelics, etc., there seem to be so many that are there to help us
yes.
on some level. My question on this is, as the room seems to get narrower and narrower at times, the
yes.
more spiritual, quote-unquote, that you get,
yes.
Is that a function of our, on some level, the agreements we had and or the creations that we agreed to bring here, or is that also part of the agreements we had with our guides, spirit helpers, etc., that are keeping us, boom, oh, you're getting out of line, boom.
It can be either or both. It depends on how you set this up for yourself.
Okay.
So there's no hard and fast rule in that sense.
Okay. Yeah, I guess my curiosity was in what is the role of the spirit guides helpers as far as how they come in, how they help,
yes.
And I guess it's sometimes very difficult for me, at least, from my perspective,
yes.
to find out why do I keep going down this narrow path, and your foot goes outside, whoops, boom, back in, and it seems to be.
Well, what are you defining as the narrow path?
Well, I guess one of the definitions would be, for example, and this was alluded to before, is on the material wealth side of the equation.
Yes.
And at some point in time, and this is one of the struggles I've had with the spirituality, is hard boom. At one point in time, there was certain circumstance of events that led me on a spiritual path.
Yes.
And reckoning that and the balance between that and also the material side of the equation.
All right, but stop there.
Yeah.
The fact that you are making it two sides of an equation is what's causing you difficulty. What is unspiritual about the idea of material wealth?
There's nothing unspiritual about it.
Well, then why is there a differentiation between the idea of material wealth experience and walking a spiritual path experience? Why does those ideas seem to be placed in two separate terminologies instead of all being part and parcel of one experience?
Right. No, I understand.
Yes.
Which leads me to my next question, my final question, was to integrate that, because between my ears, I understand that.
Between your ears,
Between
all right.
my ears. And
but not in your very...
in the heart, there's a heart chakra.
All right.
For me, it's about, as you've explained, the experiential.
Yes.
That makes it real.
Yes.
So learning it, reading it, digesting it is one thing, but also to actually live it makes it more real,
Of
at
course.
least for me.
Of course.
And so
So draw upon whatever aspects of your life already do give you that sensation in your heart, and understand that you can relate that sensation to other areas of your life as you wish to.
now, if there is a chakra, blockage in the heart chakra, is that a reality as far as...
It's a definition.
Okay. So it is a definition.
There are no blockages except as you define them.
As we define them. Thank you. Okay.
So find the definition that makes you think there's a blockage.
And I thought there was a blockage there for both sides of the equation, the material versus the spiritual.
Yes.
And
Let me put it this
Okay.
way. What you all often refer to as a blockage really might better serve you to be labeled as process. In other words, there is something there you need to get in touch with. That's what you're aware of. It's not really a blockage. But what it is, in a sense, is a part of your consciousness saying, look at this. You need to look at this. There's something here you need to look at if you really want to incorporate and integrate this idea into yourself to become more holistic. Then look at this. Look at this. Look at this. So what you experience as a blockage is more of the idea of a focus that your consciousness, your overall consciousness, is doing to your personality and saying, no, 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 don't look there, look here. No, 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 don't look there, look here. This is where you need to focus. But you might interpret that as a blockage because you don't seem to be able to get past it because the physical personality thinks it's supposed to be able to get past it. But what the overall consciousness is saying, no, 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 no. You can't get past it till you look at it. But that's not a blockage. It's the idea of being told with loud ringing alarm bells, there's something here you need to look at. You have a belief and a definition about the idea of yourself relative to this area that you need to look at and process. That's all a blockage is. It's trying to get your attention that there's something there you need to look at. It's not really a blockage. It's actually telling you that if you look at this and integrate it, it's actually the path of least resistance and the quickest way to become who you prefer to be. Trying to go around it is actually the longest way. Going through it is the quickest way. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So
It really
watch
does.
your definitions. Don't make separations where it doesn't serve you to do so. You follow me?
Yes, I do.
Does this help?
Very much. Thank you.
Thank you.